Alright y'all, here is your video for the last section of Chapter 9. This is 9.1g, and specifically I'm focusing on example 7, but I want to talk about a few of these other problems first from your notes before. So maybe in your note packet you flip back to example 5 and just remember what this stuff was, right? If I have 7 of these and 6 of these, it really meant just add 7 plus 6, which is 13, and then of these just means you put that on there like that. So when I have 5 of these minus, again, 1 of these, that gives you 5 minus 1 is 4 of these. Don't change that inside if they have it in common. And if they don't have it in common, well, that's where we had to break things up. So this is 1 square root of 2 plus 5 times the square root of 4 and the square root of 2. I got that from using my sheet and seeing that square root of 4 is the first thing that goes into that. Then I keep going. 1 square root of 2 plus 5 times 2 square roots of 2. Is 1 square root of 2 plus 10 square roots of 2. And now it's just like one of these. I have 1 of these plus 10 of these gives me 11 of these, right? So from there, I could break up the next one into 9 times 6 and 4 times 6. And I get 3 square roots of 6 minus 2 square roots of 6, which is 1 square roots of 6, right? Okay, I'm not going to do too many in a row, but then remember on these other problems, you multiply what's inside with inside and what's outside with outside, and then you reduce from there. So like for this one, I would go 3 times negative 1, which is negative 3. And then I would go square root of 8 times square root of 24, or 3, excuse me, which is square root of 24. And then we talked about reducing this, and just like up above when I said 24 is 4 and 6, I'm going to do it again here, 4 and 6. So I'd have negative 3 times that, and negative 3 times 2 square roots of 6 is going to be negative 6 square roots of 6, like that, right? I'm not going to finish this problem, but it's the same thing. Negative 2 times 5 was negative 10. Square roots of 6 times 10 is 60. x1 times x2 is x3, right? x1 times x2 gives me x3 because you add those exponents together. And then I would reduce this to 4 and 15 and go from there. We've already done that. I don't want to spend too much time on that. As I go to the next page, and we did these examples in class too, and let me just reiterate on both of these. Outside with outside, negative 21. Inside with inside, 84, and then you reduce from there. Outside with outside, 1 times 8 is 8. Square root of 15 times 5 is 75. And then again, x3 times x4 is x7, because you just add the exponents together. Now, then we break it down. So we're going to keep going with that and do what today's lesson is. And this is the notes that you do not have. So from distributing and foiling with radicals. And FOIL is just use the box, right? FOIL is just use the box. But distribute, well, it's kind of like using the box too. I'm actually going to start with example B here. Because remember when I had a problem like this, I'm going to kind of show you this, like x plus 3 times x minus 4. What we did is we did the box, and I put x plus 3 here and x minus 4 here. And I just times x to get x squared, 3x, negative 4x, and negative 12. And then I just added on the diagonal. That's actually the same thing we're going to do here on this problem. For B, I'm going to create a box. And you should be doing this too. If you understand FOIL, I know there were a couple of students in here who liked the FOIL thing. They can do that. But what I'm going to do is just put square root of 11 plus square root of 7 and square root of 11 minus square root of 7, just like that. Right? And then I'm going to go through and times them. Just like x times x was x squared, square root of 11 times square root of 11 is the square root of 121. 11 times 11 is 121. And then 11 times 7 is square root of 77. Again, I'm multiplying inside with inside, right? Negative square root of 77, 11 times 7. And then negative, because a negative times a positive, square root of 49. And we still do add on the diagonal, except for what we'll see here is those are opposites. So they actually cancel each other out. So I get the square root of 121 minus, because I'm negative, the square root of 49, which simplifies. If you go in look on your sheet, the square root of 121 is 11, and the square root of 49 is 7, and I just subtract them, and my answer is 4. And for these kind of problems where they have the opposite sign but they're the same number, it's always going to work out that way to give you a whole number, right? So maybe pause the video for a second and go try number 2. I'm going to set up the box for you. Example number 2 down below where it's an on your own. What I want you to do again is pause your video, look how I set up this problem, and go do this problem the same way. Pause the video, go try it. Okay, hopefully you've unpaused to do this and didn't just keep going with the video. 12 times 12 is the square root of 144. 12 times 6, you would use your calculator and get 72. 12 times 6, negative square root of 72, which again, those are going to cancel each other out. And then negative square root of 36. And so what I'm left with here, again, the square root of 144 minus the square root of 36 is just 12 minus 6, which is 6. Pretty easy, right? Okay. All right, so let's look at this other one. So what I did here is I did a 2 by 2 box because I got 2 by 2. But on this one, it's a 1 by 2. So I want to make a 1 by 2 box. Now I'm going to put the 1 here. I'm going to put the 2 here and here. Right? So, and now I'm just going to multiply just like I was over here. So when I times those, I can do inside with inside, and I get square root of 15. When I times these, I can only do inside with inside. So I'm not going to times this 5 by that 5. So negative 5 comes along for the ride, and the square root of 5 times 15, we already did that up above. That's 75. Okay? So I'm going to write out what I have, and then I'm going to simplify it, just like I simplified here. I cannot take the square root of 75, but as I looked at my sheet and I go 75 divided by 4, by 9, by 16, by 25, and then I realized, like I think Joe said the other day, 3/4 is 75 cents, right? So I can split this up. So I'm going to have square root of 15, which I can't split up because 5 and 3, I can't square root those. But I can square root 25, and I can't square root 3. And remember how this works, right? This is just what I can do. I pull out, right? So I'm going to have square root of 15 minus 5 times 5 square roots of 3, which is the square root of 15 minus 25 square roots of 3. And that is the final answer. Okay, that's how this works. So what I'd like you to do, look again what I did. I set up a 1 by 2 table. I put the 1 on the outside and the 2 on the top, and then I just distributed it through. Go try that. Pause the video. Go try number 1. So that's the setup, right? And then you can only do inside with inside. So this is 6 square roots of 50 because I can do inside with inside. And this is negative square root of 25 because I can do inside with inside. And then I go to rewrite that so I can simplify it, which obviously this is just a minus 5. That works out good from our chart. And this breaks down into 25 and 2, right? Because I can do this. That's 6 times 5 square roots of 2 minus 5. And then I can still do this, 30 square roots of 2 minus 5. And that's a good enough answer for me. Okay? All right, so then that leads you to your homework. And your homework is 9.1G, number 1 through 4. You don't have to do the other problems, okay? And I'm here to give you a few examples, just like we would do in class. Excuse me. So I circled a few I want to go over. Like, for instance, 1C, right? I'm going to quickly just set up my box here. 2 minus square root of 3. 3 minus square root of 3 gives me 6. Negative 3 square roots of 3 because I can't do inside with outside. Negative 2 square roots of 3. And then positive square root of 9. And I'm going to kind of write out what I got here. I've got 6 minus 3 square roots of 3 minus 2 square roots of 3 plus the square root of 9. Okay, I can combine these. That's negative 5 square roots of 3. And technically, I can even combine this and this because the square root of 9, you can look at your table, is 3. And 3 plus, it's a positive 3, plus 6 is 9. And that's my answer for that problem. Okay? I'm also want to look at like G. So G is just like what we just got done doing too. It's a 1 by 2, so I'm going to set up 1 by 2. And multiply inside with inside and outside with outside. So this is like a 1 there, right? So 3 square roots of 4x squared and negative square root of 4x squared, right? And write it out. Or you go right to maybe simplifying next, right? Because all of these is 3. Square root of 4 I can do. Square root of x squared I can do. Square root of 4 I can do. Square root of x squared I can do, right? So I've got 3 times 2x, because here I just go power of a root divided by 2. That's just a single x. Minus square root of 4, which is 2. Square root of this again. I'm just dividing by 2 to get x, which gives me 6x minus 2x, which gives me 4x. That's it. That's the answer. right? Going down to number 2, remembering how to do a problem like E, right? I can't square root 2, but I can square root that x to the 8th, right? That's just divided by 2. That gives me 4x to the 4th, square root of 2, minus 3x to the 4th, square root of 2, which is just 5 of these minus 3 of these is 2 of these. That's it. It's just like what we did on the other page, right? Lastly, I want to talk about maybe C on the back side. You're only going to do through number 4, so you don't have to do anything below this. This problem is on the test. So if you want to do that one, you can do that. But 6 for sure, you don't have to do. Hopefully you remember the setup for number 5, negative 16t squared plus the number they gave me, 805, equals, well, the ground was a lot of times 0, but this is telling me it's 5. And what you would do from there, you'd minus the 805, divide by the negative 16, and square root it. Probably not a bad problem to do, okay? But I'm only asking you to do 1 through 4. When I look at C, the first thing I want to do is simplify this, because right now I could go square root of 90 over square root of 10, and then I would do square root of 10 to the top and bottom, and then I get square root of 900 over the square root of 100, which is getting kind of crazy, but you could use a calculator and get 30 over 10, which is 3. Or you could just divide these to begin with, and 90 divided by 10 is 9, and what's the square root of 9? Well, you can write that answer in there. But when I'm looking at a problem like let's say an A, right? This is that one where you had to go the top and bottom by the denominator. Then I get 21 square roots of 7 over the square root of 49. And then I want you to reduce that from there, just to give you an idea of how that goes. And remember for these, it's just one of those letters on that problem. And that's it. You got the rest of the time to work on this homework. This is like going to end up being a little over a 12-minute video. But all you got to do is just work through the rest of this section 1 through 4. First of all, make sure that you have turned in your 9.1F homework from Wednesday. So now that you have this video, you have these notes, you can get this assignment, but make sure that you turn the 9.1F in first, and then you come back to this 9.1G and work through this. All right, y'all, do what you're supposed to do today. Please don't let me show up with you having nothing done. That means that you totally screwed around and did nothing while we had a substitute, and that's not going to go well for you if you do. See you next week.